So let's kick off this week strong with our good friend Lindsey Marie Olson. She's been a licensed hairdresser for over 2 decades, a global Redken artist for over 13 years. She travels the entire world, inspiring our industry with her dynamic skill set. She is really specialized in color and finishing on all hair types, and she was the 2020 U.S. Color and Style Trophy winner for natural texture. So please, in the chat, let's welcome our good friend and Zambia ambassador, Lindsey Marie Olson.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, Zambia team. I am so excited to be back with you guys this week. What a true pleasure to share with you guys some of my favorite things, which is hairstyling. So as Andrew said, I've been hairstylist for a couple of years, and hairstyling has always been a huge part of what I've done because I've always done photo shoots, I've done hair competitions, and right now it's a huge part of what makes our work speak on social media as well. And we have a big week, as Andrew said, because it's the holidays. So maybe some of our guests would like maybe something a little bit different because we are going out. So I'm going to share with you guys one of my favorite ways to do a braid. But don't fear if you do not like braids. If you don't like braids, I got you. And if you love braids, I got you too, because this one's best for all of you. So hang tight because it's going to be really simple. It is. You might be so shocked at how simple it is, but let me take you through the best way to get the hair going, which is the prep. So I already did a little bit of the prep. And if anybody was with me last week, say I'm back in the chat bar. We did some waves last week. So I'm building a little bit off of that, but I did change a little bit of the prep. But one of the most important things is how we prep the hair to make sure that it's really ready for us to make these finishes so easy. So dry moussing, I have plenty of videos about it on my page in Zambia. We start with the dry moussing and then we did some waves, but I'm going to share with you guys this wave technique might surprise you guys because it's a little bit different than what we normally do. So I've pre-done a little bit of the mannequin, one side and part of the top. And I'm going to show you guys how we do the top and then one side. And then we're going to get into this really full boho looking braid. And like I said, if you don't like braids, don't worry because you will love this one. And if you love braids, you're going to love this because it's super simple. All right. So already before I had started curling this mannequin, there is a layer of guts blow dried in on dry hair. So when you see me take the iron to the hair, you might be thinking it looks like it's taking a little bit of effort. That's okay, because we want all the substance to be on the hair first. So prep is key. So type in prep is key in that chat bar because that is one of the most important parts of styling. And you don't want to skip past it because it's going to make all of the work so much easier as you go. So right now, I'm going to start on the top. So I have the top and the crown, and I have a pretty wide section. And I want to show you guys like how wide my section is. So it is the whole top and crown. And it's okay that the section is really wide. You want to know why? Because these Zambia irons that I'm using are very long. So I'm able to cover the whole area that I'm going through. Again, there's guts blow dried in on this hair dry. Now I'm going to come in with Redken's Iron Shape, one of my very, very favorite products to prep the hair with. Lean the hair forward away from the hair that you already prepped and generously spray your section. And we're going to comb that product through. I'm going to tilt your head back just so I have a better angle. And right now I'm going to be using a 1-inch 2-in-1 Marcel iron. And we are going to be doing a Marcel wave with this. It's going to be on base, and we're actually going to be rolling towards the face, which might look a little backwards to what we are normally used to. So the first thing I do always is prime my section. So I take the iron and I just heat it up a little bit. So that way, when I bring the iron to the hair, it helps prep it so you don't ever get those crease marks into the hair. I've been there before. It's not the best part. It's hard to get it out. So what we're going to do now is I want to be on base. I have a horizontal section. I want to be on base, but I want to roll the hair towards the face backwards. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring the hair and you want to direct it 45 degrees past that 90. So 90 would be straight up. This would give me half off base. 45 degrees past that 90 is going to give me on base, which is going to help me give me the most volume on the top. So I'm going to come in with my iron and I'm just going to turn it. And like I said, this ends up being a figure 6 root tong. So as I'm going, I'm lifting, I'm opening and closing the iron. If you'll notice, I want to stay really close to the base. When it comes to finishing, the base really helps control the rest of the look. So that's why like I'm bringing this iron and I'm keeping it really close to the base as I'm curling. I didn't bring the iron all the way to the ends and roll down because technically we want the base to have the strongest foundation to give us the foundation for what we're going to be doing. So if I were to start at the ends and then roll all the way down, then the ends get the most heat. And that's not actually where I want the control. I want the control to start at the base and then the ends. And typically the base has more substance to it and the ends are a little bit thinner. So starting at the base, I'm not on her. I know it might be hard to see, but trust me, I'm not burning, even though I know it's a mannequin. I'm conscious. I work behind the chair, as Andrew said. So I'm conscious of what's happening. But we do want to make sure that we heat it up long enough. And as you saw, this iron, this 2-in-1 1-inch iron, I was able to take my whole wide section and place it into one figure 6 on base curl. And if this is looking a little bit different already, because we're rolling towards the face, type in different in the chat bar, because typically a lot of times when we do a set on the top, a lot of us curl the hair away from the face, thinking that we want the volume there, which I'm doing on base. So no matter what, I'm going to give some volume, but you guys wait till you guys see what this actually does, why I would curl it towards the face. So again, here's my section, spraying that iron shape. And let me show you my elevation again. So here's my section. I want to be 45 degrees past that 90, rolling towards the face. So the iron is coming this way and we're rolling towards the face. Let me bring it this way again so we make sure that you guys can see. And don't forget, we are here for you to ask as many questions as you possibly want throughout the segment. If I don't catch it, my team's got my back and Andrew will let me know that there's a question in the box. So again, bringing that iron towards the face and just open and close. And it's a flat wrap. So it's a flat figure 6 is what we call this wrap of the Marcel. Keeping the iron as close as you can to the base, not starting at the ends and rolling down. This is going to give you the most control. And I know if you're not totally used to using a Marcel iron, this might take a few times to get used to, but I promise you it's worth it because you're going to have a stronger foundation. It's all about the foundation and the prep that then makes it so much easier when we go in and actually do the work. So now as that's heated up and you see how big my section is, I'm going to slide that out and I'm just coming in with a long clip to clip it into place. Heat, tension, and cooling are super important when it comes to finishing. So as I'm bringing that clip in, it's on the inside. So let me make sure you guys can see. It's not on the outside of my curls. It's just on the inside. This is going to make sure that it really, really holds it into place. All right, so the top is set. We're going to let it cool down. Let me show you how we do these sides. And again, this is going to help us set us up for this very like effortless, soft boho braid for the holidays. I'm going to take a horizontal section. And again, this one is going to be different. So definitely watch this because I know it might be backwards, but I know you guys didn't tune in to see what you guys already know. I want to share with you guys some things that are super helpful for me when I am doing styling. So again, I'm priming that hair with that iron shape. And now I do want it to be half off base. So half off base is going to give me a little bit less volume than on base. And for me to be half off base, I'm going to elevate the hair 90 degrees out from her head instead of that 45 degrees above that 90. Priming my section again. So taking that iron to that section and just heating up with the iron. This is again going to help make sure that there's no dents in it as we take that hair to it. So when I come in now, let me just turn it here so that we can see. Turn her this way. All right, there she is. Okay, so I'm bringing my iron in. Now my iron is going to be on the top. Let me actually move to this side. Might be a better angle. I know she'll be facing the backwards, but my left-handedness. So for this side. Okay, so now I'm going to have the iron here. We're going to go half off base. The iron's actually going to come on top of the hair, and we're going to roll the hair up. So again, this might be different than what we typically do for a set. A lot of times our sides, we usually go under. Now we're going up. So we're actually rolling the hair up. And again, we're keeping the iron pretty close to that base and just open and close in a figure 6 horizontal half on base root tong. So just open and close. And if you did a good amount of prep on the hair, I know that it might feel a little tough working that iron with that guts on it. Trust the process because having all of that guts on the hair makes it so much more pliable that you don't have to rely on like hairspray at the end of the finish. So if you've ever had a challenge with hairspray at the end of a finish, it's all about the prep in the first place so that we don't have to like use hairspray at the end. It's starting with its here from the foundation to really give you the support. Okay, so let me slide this one out. Again, this is a horizontal root tongue figure 6, and it was rolling up. So I know this is backwards than what we typically might do.
Lindsey, did you mention what temperature you're using on the iron?
I have it on the medium temperature. So there are 3 settings on the Samvia iron. I have it on medium heat because of her hair texture and density and color. I don't need it all the way up. So great question. So it's medium heat for here. Although I'm not opposed to if I do need it all the way up. I am spraying Iron Shape as we go, which is a heat protectant. Super important for us to use as we go. So it's going to protect the hair, and it's also going to put more of a hold onto that. Okay. So I know she's backwards right now, but I wanted you guys to see my hand position first. So again, the hair, I'm elevating it horizontally. It's a figure 6 root tongue. I'm priming my section first. My section should be, if you want most control over what you're doing, have the section the size of your iron. If you're okay with some of your base not being a full half on or half off, then that's when you can take a bigger section. It really depends on like how much control over what the foundation of the base that you're doing. So this one I'm going to take a little bit bigger because it's the sides, and you guys will see the sides are going to be kind of loose. So again, I'm rolling up. So instead of rolling under, I'm actually rolling up to the top of the head. I'm opening and closing the iron, keeping the hair really close to the base. And you can just guide the ends as you're turning. Now, if one hot tip is don't wrap the ends all the way around the iron though, because they will end up going on the outside and then it actually will not be fed into the iron. And for us to get really the strongest control, we really need to make sure that the hair gets into the iron. This is the difference of using a Marcel versus a wand, is that tension. So heat, tension, and cooling are 3 things that are really going to help set up your finishes so they last the longest. So this is great for holiday events, in salon, Instagrammy stuff, weddings, all of the things that your guests need. This is going to be great for that. So again, heat it up. It's a flat figure 6 root tongue. And again, I'm placing the clip on the inside. So let me spin her around in the chair. Okay, so that you guys can see. So these are the sides. They went up. So the iron was rolling the hair up. The top, we actually rolled towards the face. So instead of, sometimes we typically roll down like this, and the back we roll like back like that. And the reason that I switched it is this is going to give more of a modern feel. So sometimes when we roll back and over, it's very full, but it's hard to get the dimension. So let me show you guys what I mean by that. Okay, so here's the side that I did earlier. I want to drop these down so that you guys can see the possibilities of why I would roll the hair up. Okay, so as I drop this down, what you're going to see is it keeps it flatter at the base. And this is super, super helpful because if it's flatter at the base, how many of you guys have ever been there before that you're doing like an updo or a bride, and as you're pulling the sides back, they might say, can you just make it tighter? Can you make it tighter? Sometimes it feels too puffy. So this way, by having the sides flat at the base and then having the waves down here, when you bring this back, it gives it all of that soft, ripply movement without making it puffy. So this gives it that really like boho vibe and that movement of those soft waves without making it a really puffy feeling. So it helps set it up that you get that soft movement and keeps it nice and more effortless looking. So there is dropping down the one side.
We have a couple of questions on product usage. Susanna is asking, why no hairspray? And then Juman's asking, what's the benefit of using guts first, then heat protection?
These are both really great questions. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with hairspray. Do I like hairspray? Yes. But the challenge can be sometimes we use hairspray and it makes it look a little bit more sticky or stiff. And sometimes you get those weird like bubbles as you're working. So I tend to do like the dry moussing and using Iron Shape. So it puts the control and substance over the hair. So that way I'm not relying on the hold from a hairspray. I'm relying on the hold from those products, which gives it more shine as I'm working too. So fantastic question. Thank you so much for it. the guts first and then the heat protection. So guts is blow dried into the hair first, because if you've ever done an updo or a braid, sometimes the hair feels like it just doesn't have as much like grip to it. So if you blow dry the guts in, it gives it that like fullness and that pliability to it. Then the heat protection just for some added more control to it. So both really great questions. Keep them coming, you guys. Andrew's on the chat bar, making sure that we are seeing them as we go. Okay, so I dropped down the other side. Now I want to show you guys, why would I roll the hair towards the face versus away from the face for any upstyling? And this tends to be one of my favorites go-to methods. And trust me, I like lots of different methods, so I don't want to say it's the only thing I do, but if I needed a quick set, this is going to be it. And as you guys notice, I didn't set the rest of the hair. I'm going to tell you guys why as we go. So here's the top. And again, it's a similar concept of what we did with the sides. So sometimes when you set the top away from the face, yes, it makes it really full, but it doesn't really give it that movement. This is meant to be a more like effortless, boho, modern type of look. So when I bring this top back, I want to show you guys this way. See all those waves that it creates on the top? So let's say I was just bringing this back and even just going to put it into like a low ponytail. This is going to give it the movement from left to right without feeling more like buffanti. Okay, so even from the side, so see all the ripples that this makes. So when you're bringing this hair back, you're going to get the movement without puffiness, which is going to give it that more of that like effortless, like cool girl hair versus something that you're trying to puff down and make the movement. So see, this is just me using my fingers, breaking that setup. And again, this is why it's so important to do that dry moussing with the guts and then using the iron shape, because right now, just by me manipulating the hair with my hands, and I will start to change my tools and start using a comb or a brush, but see how much like hold that this has. And there's no hairspray yet. So the advantages to doing the prep is that when you do start to put the hair up, that it's already starting to fall into place without as much effort because you did all of that prep work first. I'm going to come in. If I want to break this up even more, I would use a wide tooth comb. So just brush down this wide tooth comb here and even on the top. So I'm going to section this and just bring this and just kind of break this up a little bit. Section by section. Could you back comb and make this a little bit fuller on the top? Absolutely. It just depends on what's the look that your guest is looking for and how much volume that they want on the top. So I'm going to just comb this back using that wide tooth comb, kind of merging everything together. And again, see how much like hold and control is happening with the hair. So I want to make sure you guys can see everything. And from the top perspective on the back, here's what we're looking for. We're looking to see that when I bring this back, I have this movement here. So that's going to give it that really, like I said, like movement kind of feel instead of just puffy. So it gives it more dimension to your finish. So now I'm going to bring this back. Again, I'm going to use a wide tooth comb and just kind of break this all the way to the back. Now you could, depends on your guest's texture of hair, you could just come in with this partial set for the look that we're doing. You could just blow dry the guts in on everything and then just do this partial set for the look that we're doing today. Because that guts and that blow dry is going to give you a lot of movement and hold and control and not have to set the entire head. So what I'm going to do is as I am combing it back, I really want to like kind of keep some of this movement that I'm seeing on the top. So I'm going to come in with a few smaller pin curl clips and just kind of like clip in the top. And this is just going to keep it to having more of like that ridge as I work some of this hair to the back. So I'm coming in with really small pin curl clips like these ones and just clipping. And yes, it's going to look separated right now, but the goal is to keep a little bit of that separation as I merge everything together. And at the end, we'll take the clips out. And I want to see that little bit of movement there. So bringing those clips in at the top. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of this top and the crown. And just for added control, I'm going to use a hairpin to secure some of this away. I'm going to come in with a little bit of shine flash on the top And I like using my fingers a lot for the control versus a comb. Now, it depends on how compact you want it. The more of a control of a tool that you use, like if I were to come in with a comb, it's going to push things together. So if you want it to be more polished and push things together, go with a comb. And then if I even want more polish and control, then I would come in with a brush and start brushing things together. So I'm just going to take, here's the top and a little bit of the crown. And again, I'm not using a comb to subsection. It doesn't have to be. We want this to be a little bit more organic and loose. And I'm going to bring this back and just fold it and roll it like this. And I'll just use a hairpin to secure it into place. And I remember when I first started doing hair, I never thought the hairpins actually held the hair. I always thought that bobby pins were better. And then as I started doing more finishing work, I found that I really liked using a hairpin. So I'm taking the hairpin from the right side and just bringing it to the left side. And when I do that right now, I can feel the scalp, which is okay. That means that like it's going to lock into place. And I'm just going to push it there so that it holds it into place. Bring this up a little bit. So right now we have the sets in, we have a few hairpins on the top to keep that dimension. We have pinned back just the top and the crown. So I want to make sure that you guys can see the sides and the back are all still out. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go from the left and the right side. You're going to want some sectioning clips nearby. And the more movement that you want in this, the smaller the sections that you're going to take. So this is about a 2-inch section that I'm taking on the left side here. And again, depends on how much control and how much brushing out that you need. I can come in with a brush if I want to make this more polished and more compact. And I'm going to take it. And at this point, with all the product that's already on there, you really shouldn't need much product at this point because you should have the control from what you already did. So now I'm going to take this section from the left side and I'm just going to turn it up like I'm twisting it. But I'm not going to secure it. I'm going to take it to the opposite side and I'm just going to put a clip and clip it into place. Okay. So just set it into place like that. I'm going to go to the opposite side. I'm going to grab a section all the way to the middle. So right now, all the hair from the right side is in my hand all the way to the middle here. Make sure that you guys can see. So here's that little section that we took from the top and bringing this all the way to the middle here. And again, how much control you want. If you want to take a brush and brush through and have it more polished, and then just turn and twist it like this and bring it to the opposite side. And now I'm just going to take a clip and clip it and hold it into place. I'm going to continue to do that. And it depends on how much hair your guest has and how much movement would determine the size of the sections. I could have taken the whole side in one bite if I wanted it to not have as much dimension. So the more sections that you take, the more dimension that your shape is going to have. So again, just brushing through that section and taking that left side and turning it, twisting it up, and then just clipping it into place. So again, this is my friends out there that don't love doing braids. Look at, like I'm starting to do the braid and my hands are kind of free right now. So if you've ever felt really like, you know, maybe a little frustrated, there's a lot going on when you're braiding hair. I do love braiding, but I also like finding ways to keep it a lot more simple. So this is definitely one of my favorite ways to do it. So again, from the opposite side, now I'm on the right side. I'm just taking the paddle brush. This is the styling brush. This is always going to give more polish. This is super important, actually. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot to say that. Versus the paddle brush. Now, this is great for control and blow drying, but when I'm doing finishing, I always want more polish on the hair. So I like using the styling brush with the thicker boar bristles on it versus using the paddle brush that could possibly put more of a ridge into your look. All right, so here we are. We keep going left and right side. And again, I'm just using, these are just like soft duckbill clips. Now I'm coming to the bottom here. And again, depends on how much movement. If I want to take this whole bottom in one piece or actually split it and take it into two. So I'm going to take this and actually split it into two. And if you notice, I have not sprayed any hairspray because of the set that we did do with using the guts and then the iron shape. At this point, depends on your guest's texture. If you did all that prep, you really shouldn't need it. If you did need a little bit of hairspray just for more added control, I do really like using Redken's Wax Blast. And I would just spray it on the outside as I'm going. And then again, turning the hair and bringing it from the opposite side to the left side to the right side and just secure it with a clip. So again, just continuing to do this to the bottom. And you could keep hair out too. Like you don't have to, depends on the look. Like this could be a half up, half down look as well. So all the options for us for the holidays. And then here is my last section, going again from the left side, turning and twisting and bringing it all the way over. Again, this is one of my favorite ways to do a braid that's not a braid. And you can even do this on short hair. So this is, if you saw our flyer as we were getting started, this is what I did for the start. This is also what I did on her right here with short hair. So even short hair can get this, which I know I cannot be the only one that sometimes short hair in the beginning might feel like a little bit of a challenge to braid because it is not a lot of hair. But as you can see, like, look at now we are hands-free again and everything is clipped up. So what you should have is you should see there's a little bit, here's the center. Here's the section that we had subsectioned away on the top with that one hairpin. And the both sides are out of the way with our soft clips out of the way. So now what we're going to do is just one side at a time. I'm going to drop the clips. So here I am on the right side, and I'm going to take my section, drop the clips. And again, see how easy it is. Everything is still staying into place. Nothing's falling out because of the way that we clipped it up. And you're able to just work on one side at a time. So now I'm going to take these sections and I'm just going to fold them down. So I typically just bring these sections over one another like this, and just folding and rolling all the way down to here. So once you get to the bottom, you're going to fold this down. You're going to have this ridge. You can come in again and just clip it on that one side. All right. So now what we can do is now we can take control over her left side. So again, just dropping our clips. And see how easy. I know too, like who's ever had a lot of hair that you're working with, and it just can feel a little overwhelming, hanging on to everything. Where is it going? What are we doing? So this is like, see how easy and controlled that we're working with this is that now I just am working on the hair in one side and everything else is still clipped away. So here is those sections, and all I'm doing is rolling and folding them down one on top of each other. And this has so many options. Like I could do this as a very tight braid. I could keep this like this and it's just a very tight braid. I can also, as you've seen on the short one, make it look like it's almost like an updo. It just depends on how much you pull it out. Okay, so now I have those two sides. I'm going to take this clip out here and just keep rolling them towards each other. So to maintain total control, you're just going to fold these in. So right now I'm just folding them into towards her face. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to take an elastic. So just a small rubber elastic. And I'm going to elastic this all the way here at the bottom. Okay. So now here's where the fun part is. Here's where you get to just play, okay? Everything's connected. So I know as you might start to work with this, you might feel like you're losing bits. So here, I'm here to tell you that everything can be tightened back up. So as you're going and you're pulling things out, don't worry if you're like, well, that looks loose, because everything is in there. And what I love about this is the versatility that you will have to create it in many different ways. So now what I can do is, here's the center of the braid right here is these bits. So as I pull these out, you are going to see that some of the sides might loosen up, but that's okay because this is where you get to alter it and change the shape of it even more. So here's starting at that left side, I'm just going to start to pick this up and loosen this. And as I do that, I can see where I want, how much like looseness and how full that I want to pull this out. So same thing with here's that left side, here's the right side. But like I said, everything's connected. So like I can pull this and it's going to tighten everything back up. So this makes it really easy for you to play and create with. I'm going to start using some hairpins. And here is another like major time-saving hot tip when we're working in the salons or on set for photo shoots is grab a padding little donut. So I always have like, here's my bobby pins and here is my hairpin. So I keep them separate. So as I'm grabbing, I don't have to try to get them out of like a little bowl or a container. So I'm just going to come in and I like using, just trying to make sure you guys see, I like both the little hairpins. And then it's also super important. These are a 3-inch hairpin that I like using. So it just depends on like where I'm working on the surface. So when it comes to the hairpins, again, like I said, these, I used to think that these didn't hold the hair. They actually really hold the hair. So I'm going to just take that section on the left side and I'm going to go from the section here. So here's the hair that I'm at and then to the scalp. And you want to feel the scalp and then push that hairpin in and it's really going to lock it in. As long as you feel a little bit of the scalp and it's not going to hurt your guest. I promise you, you're not going to scratch their scalp. It's not going to be painful, but it's going to really lock it in so that you have control in there. So I'm going to come in with a small hairpin again. So let me just grab a few out of my section there. And again, just picking up. So going from where I'm at, I want to make sure that you guys can really see. So here's that hairpin where I'm at, turning it and then feel the scalp and actually turn and push. And as you're going, now we can just still keep picking this up and I can still use my hands to pull this out even more. So here's that first section. And like I said, I love the versatility that this has. I love that every time I do this, I feel like it looks slightly different, depending on obviously the color of your guest hair too, how many layers, how long, or how short that is. So here's and you get to work with both sides of it. So what I mean by that is here's like the braid part that we did all of that work. And then here's the sides that because everything's connected at the bottom here, as I'm pulling the center out, I also can pull these sides out and see why I set the hair the way I did. Now I have that movement where it's not puffing out on the sides. It's actually just laying really close to the face. So this looks more elegant, looks more natural. Not that I don't want to say like, there's nothing wrong with like, obviously I work in a salon and we love salon hair, but sometimes you want it to look a little bit like what's really, really trending right now is that it looks a little bit more natural. Not that they did it themselves, but not so perfect. So as I'm coming in, see that movement that I'm creating because of that set curling the hair up, that as I'm bringing those hairpins in, it's creating that closeness, but also that movement up and down versus just rounding it. So here's another thing too, when it comes to finishing, as I'm going, like I said, trust the process and just like kind of have fun with it and just start to pull some of the hair out because it really gets better the more that you keep going. I always say that with even when I'm blow drying hair, I'm like, if you think you're finished with blow drying hair, just keep blow drying for like another 10 minutes and you're going to have even more polish on it. So again, I'm coming in from that opposite side and I'm just lifting up a section just to get a little bit more movement on this section here. So I'm just going to pick this up and turn it down. And again, I'm still just using those hairpins instead of bobby pins. I feel like the hairpins are also what keep more openness to the hair. So it doesn't compress it down. When you use bobby pins, like the closed ones, let me make sure I'm out of the way. Sometimes they compact it too much where you don't actually get the movement that you're looking for. We're looking for something really like effortless and boho. So you can also, here's another fun little trick is taking that hairpin. And what I'll do is just go in and out. So I have the hairpin. It's actually lifted up. So the open ends are up. So hopefully you guys can see that. And I'm taking the hair in and out like this. And what I can do is just turn it again, feel that scalp and then place it in like that. And that's again going to create more ripples because the goal is that after you place that pin in, I still want to be able to like pick some of the hair out. So see that this is actually what I was going for. See that like little ripple there? I'm trying to see like the best way to see that. I want there to be that like soft movement to it. I'm going to take these clips out since I want to work with the top now. And again, trusting the process and just like breaking it up. Even your fingers, because the hair has so much control on it, I wanted this to have that separation there because I didn't want it to just look like a puff back. So now because of that control from the product that we used before, I can just use my fingers and start to pull this out. Again, don't worry because everything is connected there. If I want to see a little bit more shine and texture, I'm going to come in with that wax blast as I'm doing this and just using my fingers and kind of separate and fluff up the top a little bit. Again, the key is that prep to make sure that the hair does become more pliable. So let's see, how is she looking? What do you guys think so far? So far, is she looking a little romantic-y and boho, nice and full? If you guys have learned at least one thing so far with me this morning, type in learned in that chat bar. And definitely don't forget if there's any questions to let us know what questions that you guys have as we're going. So I just want to move this one back as I'm looking from the side. And again, don't worry. Sometimes I think we get so stuck on the plan when it comes to finishing. It is really important to like step back and like look at what's happening, because you could have a picture. And like I said, this doesn't always turn out exactly the same. And in a sense, it really shouldn't, because everybody's hair density, length is different, that we should always try to pay attention to what's happening to in front of us versus just a picture. The picture is the inspiration. And like I said, it definitely has like a similar vibe. Like this is like, see how much I can still keep pulling. I can make this really, really wide. Here's the end of that ponytail. And if I want to tighten this, I can just tighten this, but I can still pull out that braid and make this even wider as I'm going. And even with the side here, now that I've pulled out this side, now this becomes another place that I can come in with a hairpin and make like another layer of movement. So I'm just looking for a small hairpin, just moving these bits and pieces. Here we go. Okay, so coming in. So again, coming from where I have some of the hair into the hairpin and then turning, and then always making sure that you feel a little bit of that scalp and then pushing. And the goal is that I have control over some of that section, but I'm not locking it in and having it really, really tight. So again, still like, you know, looking at it, picking up pieces and really making it as loose and full as you want. You can take, and this, I would love to see this because I've actually done it too. You can take this technique and make it like really, really tight too, and just make it a really close braid. I like things that look really like clean and precise, as well as I really like really loose and effortless hair too. So I tend to do both, but definitely you can still do this and make it a really tight version as well. If you do, please try the technique and tag me in it so I can actually see some of the beautiful work that you guys are creating. So again, as I'm going and finishing, I want to pull it out. I want to make it a little bit messier, and then I can always tighten it back in. I can move and tighten some more of the sections up, but this is a way to take something that looks like it's a braid and also like start to make it looking like it's an updo. So trusting the process, knowing that you can move the hair around, tighten it back up, pulling it on the ponytail here, and just kind of widening each side. So even on this side, and right now, if you guys can see, like the side it is a little bit farther away. It depends on like what's the look. Like there is no right or wrong way to do this. This is like the aesthetic of what works for you and your guests' density and texture of hair. I will come in. I always have a few accessories around, usually like walking into the salon with a bag of them to make sure that I always have some options. So I'm going to come in and take a gold clip at the bottom here and just kind of give it more of that, let's see, holiday feel to it. So now that I've done that, I can see, do I want to take any of it a little bit tighter? Do I want it looser? Take your time, take a step back, look and see what is happening to the hair with their texture and density. And like I said, don't be, you know, sometimes I think some of the best work I've done was when I made a mistake and I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. And then I realized, oh, but that looks good. So it's okay. Trust the process and know that everything in here is connected. So, you know, from the inside of it to the ponytail, it's not going to, it looks really, really loose, but I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it can be challenging to make something look really loose, but still be controlled. But that is why I really like this technique, that you can have the best of both worlds. And like I said, you know, where is she? Her hair, this is a bob. not easy to make a full braid on a bob because there's no hair left over. So this little like faux 2-strand technique, faux braid, is a great way for you to be able to do that. And even with like, when it comes to like accessories and details, again, coming in with that brush to give it a little bit of movement. I could, let's see, if I felt like I wanted more dimension, one of my favorite things to use is actually braid clips. So these are just little aluminum braid clips. If I felt like I wanted to make this a little bit more separated or movement to it, let me just separate these. These are just really just little braid clips that you can get from, well, I'm sure, you know, the one place that we all buy things from, little braid wig stores is what I meant. So these open like this, but these are a great way that, especially like, okay, her hair does not have a lot of highlights going on. Not all our guests do. And I picked the red hair because it is fall and winter, and reds are really, really popular. So sometimes we might need to add something to the hair. These are usually very, very inexpensive. So if you are, you know, don't want to have like, this can be expensive. If you don't want to send your guests out with something that you feel like they need to bring back to you or purchase from you, these are very inexpensive. And like I said, they just open. So I'm just opening them, and I'm just bringing a little bit more detail to show off the separation of the braids and the movement there. Again, this kind of gives it more of that like holiday feeling to it. And these are, I think these are super fun and exciting and an easy way, especially if your guests like I said, I do work on a lot of blondes, but if your guest is not blonde when they come in for a finish, so see how that's already starting to, yeah, that's giving it more like movement to it. If your guest is not blonde, and not everybody can be blonde, and they do not have a lot of dimension in their hair, sometimes we have to do things to show off a little bit more dimension to it. And especially, this is actually really, really important too, is when your guest comes in for a finish, and if they show you a picture of a blonde, and let's say their hair is a dark red or a brunette, it is definitely part of the conversation. I would highly recommend showing them a picture of a guest with another color of hair, because the expectation of what the blonde hair looks like versus a brunette or a redhead is there. So blondes are always going to show more movement into a finish. Like bringing this one forward, like you see a lot more movement to this because of the hair color. But like I said, not everybody is going to have that hair color. So there is all the movement still here, but how do we show it off a little bit more? So just something, my hot tip when it comes to styling is just to make sure that we set up our consultation. Super important. We did talk about the prep that we do. So again, coming in with that guts, it lives on Sambia's page as well as mine, of how to do dry moussing on the hair. Have your guests come in with their hair clean and dry. You can always add the texture and the movement to it, but clean, dry hair for all services. We have the products that are going to give it the guts that it needs to give you the substance that you need. And then going in with that reverse set. So again, that one is super, super helpful for me. And again, I think this is starting to look very holiday and separated look here. And like I said, I'm just now using these little braid clips that are a great addition to keep in the salon. And not only is it, you know, obviously I want my guests leaving happy, okay, number one. But as a stylist who also uses social media to promote my work, something like this does help maybe like stop the scroll a little bit more, because you can actually see more of what is going on when it comes to the movement here. So I'm just double checking, make sure I didn't miss any questions. I know Andrew was on it as I'm going, and just adding a few more of these little clips into this 2-strand braid. Definitely think that there is a lot of things that are really helpful that have helped me this set. Setting the hair towards the face, setting the sides up has been super helpful for me to work on many different finishes. So definitely try that out. Rewatch, share the videos so that your friends can also try this out. And I think maybe just like one more clip. But you can see how now this really like sets up the difference of actually seeing the movement, because my guest here did not have as many highlights as my guest on the flyer, but I could have picked up a blonde mannequin. 100%. We did. I picked up a short blonde mannequin because I wanted to show you guys that you could do this. This is the same technique with very short hair on blonde hair. But I wanted to share with you guys the hot tip of what happens if your guest doesn't have a lot of highlights, if their hair is longer, like how you would take this technique and also use it on guests that have dark red hair or all brunette hair. So maybe it's the accessories that help like give it that movement to it. But I think it's also something that's super important when it comes to the communication and the consultation to your guests of like when they're showing you. And I will say, how many of you guys, it's always a blonde. They always bring in the pictures of the blonde. And trust me, I love blondes. I'm a hair colorist. I love them. But we have to set it up for the finishes. If we have a bride, we have a guest that's going to a holiday party, a New Year's Eve party, like what's the difference when it comes to the way that their hair looks if their hair doesn't have as much dimension into it as well? So, and again, this is just using that 2-strand braid and all of the tips when it comes to the setting. I barely use hairspray because we did all the sets with the guts and the iron shape. A little bit of wax blast at the end. This is one of my favorite hairsprays from Redken for styling. But doing all that prep, and like I said, I know I kind of like we've shared a lot in this time together, but doing the prep and doing the set, heat, tension, and cooling is really what's going to help it make it so it's easier so that you can just whip up these 2-strand braids, make them to an updo, give your guests something different, give your social media presence something new and exciting too as well. Because, you know, I love hair color. I love haircuts. Finishing is where we're seeing how the work all comes together. So I definitely would love to see how you guys recreate this, because I will always share how I do something. Always. There's never anything, whether it's a formula or a styling technique, that I would ever keep back, because you're going to put your own personal style on it. Even if you were to make it identical to mine, I'm happy to share. If there's something that I've learned that has made my life as a hairstylist, as an artist easier, I am happy to pass it along so that you guys have some cool, new, easy techniques to share with your guests and to recreate. So please, you know, share the video, rewatch it, try it out. And I know if you're not used to using them, Marcel, trust the process. It might take you a little bit of muscle, but that's okay. You will get there. And definitely tag all of us so that we can see some of the beautiful work that you create.
Absolutely. You know, one of my big takeaways from this, Lindsey, was just what you shared kind of towards the end there, which I think you're so right. So often the disappointment in something like a finished product is the expectation. And it could be as simple as they had this, you know, they brought us a picture of a blonde, you know, hair color with like 10 pounds of extensions in it.
Yes.
Their hair is dark brown with no highlights or anything, and their ponytail's this big around.
Exactly.
And so I think setting people up for real expectations is huge. So thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for adding it. And that is why, like I said, I could have picked up a long blonde mannequin. The flyer has a long blonde hair, but like here's the real life of what happens in the salon or on set, is that you don't always have a blonde to work on. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Thanks for having me today. I always love sharing, and I cannot wait to be back here with Samvia team.